a supermarket online, and we are 100% online, and we born as an online company. What does it? This means basically that it was quite rough to start, because as you may notice, the groceries business is very old, and there are a lot of big companies, right? So you are fighting against Mercadona, you're fighting against international companies like the providers, Nestle or Kraft, right? So even when you're not fighting, but you are collaborating, like with the big providers, have in mind that they have usually all technologies. And this is important, right? If you're starting, I don't know, a startup yourself in the VR world, everything's going to be super new, super trendy, right? All the technologies. Google is doing virtual reality, or Facebook, and everything is super new, but it's not our case. So this is super important for the stack, because when you're building a product, you're building the product in a context. You're not building the product isolated from the world. And this was important for the story of Ulabox. So this is like kind of the cells that we sell at our store. And why I told you this at first? Because we start as a online drugstore, something like that. We sell shampoo, we sell, paper, that kind of stuff. Long expiry dates, easy to deliver, easy to transport. That was the beginning. And then we start expanding to foods, and then to fresh food, and so on, which is more complicated. So what's the point? When you're doing Ulabox, you will notice right now that we are not just a single product for a business. We have like multiple products, right? We have like the thing that you usually see, the website or the mobile apps, which is the clients, but we also have a lot of how to say, code that is very coupled to the business logics, right? It's the back office, which is our own software. The marketing people, commercial people, financial, they are working with our own software. Also the integrations, the API, our own API, and the integration of third parties APIs. So this is like another smart product. We focus a lot on these kind of things. We also have to handle all around machinery, not only the servers, which is the easy, because we are using bare metals, not virtualized servers, but also we have warehouses, and the warehouses, they need network, the network needs routers, the routers need to, and so on, there's a lot of things. We also have our own warehouses, and spot houses is where the packets are built and prepared for delivery. We're working with, also again, more complexity. We're working with another business, another companies. They provide us the space, they provide us also the pickers, the workers that are actually putting your stuff in your box. So you need to handle everything. We have also software made in-house for this. We also have software made in-house for the trucks, small trucks, for delivering from the industrial zone to the city. And also these things, they are quite big. I mean, imagine that you have a software to handle the communication coming from here, basically, like the databases of the orders. And then you have to manage like a lot of people, depending on how many orders this day, make the boxes, and then deliver. Okay, but this should be replicated, because this is in Barcelona, but it's also in Madrid. And if we now are going to open in Valencia or Sevilla, this is going to replicate again. If we're going to open in Paris, again, and so on, working with the providers, yada, yada. And then it goes to your house, you're a happy customer, so you're going to buy again. Okay, so now I'm going to explain you these products, which all of them build what we call Ulabox. And because of the stack, and the most interesting thing, I guess, is that I'm going to explain you a bit the stack, then some issues that we face when we were building the product itself, and then some tips for you. Basically, starting off, clients. Clients are the web, of course, and the apps. The apps, they are quite old, and we didn't build it in-house. We hire a consultancy. So now we are making from scratch again, using React Native and the Pods-based If you don't know, you can find my post online. Self-promotion. The stack. We are a PHP company, we could say, because like, I don't know, 95% of our backend code is written with PHP 7, and Symfony 2 is our main framework. Actually, we were the first company of Spain with Symfony 2 in production. So that's cool, be brave. We are using Twig templates with jQuery for the client. Why we're not using, for example, a single page application, which is the trending and cool stuff? First of all, CEO. Remember, Ulabox is a company that we are more than 6 years old. So single page applications, 6 years old? No. That means backbone roughly wear out, a lot of performance troubles, bad idea. So tweak and templates with jQuery. jQuery just, you can imagine, right? It's just click here, triggering events, that kind of stuff. Nothing very coupled with the business logics. And right now like 3 months ago, we rebuilt some parts of how we build the client. So now it's a progressive web application, which means that you can install it in your home screen, that it makes some front caching a little bit, not too much. Also you have a bit of more accesses to the web APIs, like push notifications and that kind of stuff. We are not actually implemented the push notifications already because we want to use one signal, which is a framework that unifies and normalize the push notifications for web apps and also for applications. That's pretty cool. But this is like, this probably is going to be the replace for the apps, for the native apps in the next year, or yeah, probably next year. This year is too short, probably. But the past Chrome Summit, which is the most important web development summit in the world, it was like 30 speakings, something like that, and 35 were about progressive. So that's the direction, and it's Google who's paying for this. So, okay. Then, moving on. Issues. Okay, this is probably one of the most interesting things. Waiting too much for responsibility segregation. What we mean with this? Usually you start your code, and you tend to dive into the monolith development, which is okay, right? A good, well-coded monolith sometimes is worth it. But probably it's going to be a time that you need to split out. Don't wait too much for this. Neither is a good idea to start with microservices, for example. Usually you will have a lot of friction and a lot of boilerplating and a lot of problems with the infrastructure that you don't need at the beginning. So go for the monolith, it's okay, but have in mind all the time that when you need to stop and start segregating the responsibility. And we are not talking about infrastructure only. Maybe you can have, I don't know, multiple repositories or a monorepo but well maintained with Lerna or something like that. So, okay. High availability. Well, this is a problem that we all have. And basically the solution for us was to boost the servers. Okay, if you have a problem and you cannot fix it with code or time, put some money on it. That's it. So if you have neither money, be very creative. Tips. Fixing performance issues just when you face them. And this is like a golden rule. I mean, it's, I'm gonna vouch for this sentence, but you never need to do the performance problem first. Never. Code for it to work, and then to be maintainable, and then if you need it, to have a nice performance. But never start with this. This is like one of the best tips that I have for you today. Another one is that the bottleneck is not the keyword, and this is a super sentence of our business, right? Of development. But it's not just that. Usually, if you hire more people, probably you're not gonna go faster. because the problem is not the people who's actually typing the code, but how you think about the code and how you structure the things, yada yada. Okay, but that you also you will feel that this is also that you could move out of the development environment. So from another company that I had, there are more offices, there are more departments, more areas in your company. So probably if you focus a lot of on development, you will notice that you don't have enough marketing, so you have a super nice product, but nobody knows about it. Or the people understands one thing about your product, but you are doing actually another thing. So try to maintain the stability between all the departments. And having a single source of truth. This is also super important. In our case, our main data are the products, right? We're selling a lot of things, more than 14,000, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. We only have a single database with a lot of anti-corruption layers. Everything is super well packed, super well structured. And if something is corrupted, if something doesn't match, we know that PIN, which is called the project, is the unique source of truth. So we just follow one source of truth. Imagine that you have a product and you have, I don't know, 2 prices. You are basically fucked. Moving on. All these clients, the web and all this stuff, where it's put on. So the machinery, right? The systems. This is probably the most stuck slide because boom, all of this. And we are using bare metals, self-maintained, which is a pain in the ass, but the price is super cheaper if you compare to Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud Platform. We are on Hersner, it's a German company. Okay, it's okay, but have in mind that you need a lot of talent, systems talent in your company, and not just I don't know, a person or something like that. You actually need a team, maybe not only doing the systems maintaining, but you need that team that knows how to work in this environment. Because we are used to just clicking on Amazon and deploy some machine. I need more power, so okay, upgrade this machine, that's all. Okay, it's super easy. When you have this, you have to control IP tables, deployments, puppets, Ansible, whatever you're using, and you need to have a very strict control of what you're doing. For the web mainly, we're using Solar and Redis. Redis is for caching, of course, and the Solar is for indexing the products, for the searching, and so on. In Spanish and Catalan. MariaDB is not for the web really, but for the products. That single source of truth that I told you, the PIN, it's a master of products. It's on a MariaDB. It's okay. At the end, it's SQL. PostgreSQL is for our microservices. Our microservices are the warehouses manager, the tracks manager, the routes manager that we are using right now. Jenkins for pipelines. Don't use Jenkins. RabbitMQ and Random for intercom. RabbitMQ is probably right? It's an MQP protocol. You could use Kafka or whatever, but it's good. It's becoming super trending, like the Kiwi messaging, and it's going to be more trending in the next years. And it's actually a very good direction because it's really powerful in the sense that you can actually make completely isolated microservices when you're using messaging. Okay, nothing is coupled. What you are exposing is a contract that this microservice is exposing some messages and it's listening for some messages. You can connect this basically in every infrastructure. So not RabbitMQ, but the idea of messaging is super important. Rundeck is not really for intercom, but it's a cron manager. We are using the crons internally for some kind of intercom. Yeah, you listen well. I say crons, which all the time you have to think in the context, right? We are not selling bytes but atoms. That's our main difference with a lot of startups. What does it mean? That the people is actually buying things at a real time in the world, and they expect to get their things at a real time in the world. So the cron jobs can do this job very well. They are designed for this, which is we have like 2 groups of delivering every day, morning and afternoon, and the crons are most of the crons are paired with these times, so it's okay. Though with the crons you have a lot of problems also. The ideal of the crons, for me at least, and another tip, will be that the cron doesn't actually send the data or the communication itself, but actually publish a message on your message system, and it's the message who handle what if it's going too early, what if it fails, you have a dead letter, so on, so on. Just keep the cron just for triggering those messages. And the Docker for dev environment and staging. Note with the Docker, it's not a super mature technology with Mac OS. I'm leaving this here. Issues, system management responsibility. This is quite like I said at the beginning, that if you have your systems self-maintained, you have to have a very skilled team that can handle this. But also the responsibility is that it's a bad idea usually to have multiple microservices in the same machine, that kind of stuff, right? Or it's a bad idea to doesn't have a backup. And a backup the ideal is that your backup is in another infrastructure, right? We have, for example, for the master of products and orders I'm not sure, but for the master of products we have like the production environment, then we have the slave. The slave is another infrastructure, but we also have another copy which is built with dumps actually in a data center here in Barcelona. Because our CTO is quite paranoid, and this is okay for a CTO, and he's thinking like, okay, what happens if there is the Third World War, something like that. Then if the information is actually in a Barcelona data center, I can walk the street up to the building and ask for them to, please, give me my hard disk, and I can give my information to my home. So, be paranoid. Tips. This is the most important thing. Follow a single unique DevOps protocol. Make real-world situation. You start developing and you say, yeah, Docker is very cool, Docker Compose, I like it a lot, okay. Then you go to production and, oh, Docker Compose for production is a super shit, in case you don't know. So it's a better idea to say, let's gonna continue with Docker Compose, let's gonna do some hacks maybe, and achieve this environment working on production, rather than say, no, then we need Kubernetes. Bad idea. This for us could be here in issues, because we actually are using Ansible, we're using Docker. We are using Docker Compose. We tend to use Swarm, and I don't know, a lot more. We're using Ansistrano, which is like a mix of Ansible and like replicating Capistrano. It's super complex. For me, that I'm not focused on this part of the company, it's very frustrating to trying to change something, because we have nothing, absolutely nothing replicated. All the pieces, they have the unique DevOps system. And this also will be a friction in the future to continue developing and the agile methodologies, right? Like going fast and deploying fast. Another tip is invest time into coding instead of machinery administration, which is basically, in short, don't go self-maintain it. Pay Google or Amazon. Business. Let's go a bit now more quick. Stack, PHP 7, Symfony again. We're using Swagger for the IPA. If you don't know, it's really cool, because basically you are like explaining like the test and behavioral test, something like that, and then you get also the documentation. Super cool, and you can try, and it builds the web app and so on. And basically, we are integrating here our own API and a lot of third parties. A lot of third parties is a lot of third parties. Technology, third parties, but also business-oriented third parties. Like for example, SendGrid, Selligent, those are used for sending emails, transactional emails. ICOC is a weight association from Spain, and they provide the information of the products. Like for the barcodes and all the stuff, they are the providers. And they are using whatever technology that they have. I mean, actually, you don't want to know nothing about this, but it's super shitty. We're still integrating technology, third parties like Datadog for monitoring, Kibana, etc. Right? If you need, I don't know, for example, a Logstash, also that kind of stuff, or integrated to the Slack to get the responses of the logs. And our issues here, okay. Our issues is that when you're in a technology company, okay, and you're building technology products, usually all the departments need you. And when I say all the departments, I mean that if now commercial, they want to use like an EcoBox, okay? This is real, this is from Ulabox. For this EcoBox, they need to ask to change the warehouse management system in order to being able to, now you have also this thing, how you are going to use this thing, how you are going to manage this thing. But this comes from commercial, not from us. This is okay, yeah? I'm not blaming. This is okay, but expect from other departments to ask you a lot of things all the time. Also microinformatics. My machine is not working. Oh, the key of the office expired. That kind of stuff, right? So it's okay, but you have to know, you have to deep breath, okay, and be comprehensible with the people. We're using a system, maybe you're interested in this, that we call Batman. And it's basically, you can think about it like a Slack channel called Batman. The people, when they have a problem, they post it on the Batman channel, and then they don't know who is Batman, but we are rotating Batman every day, and we help the department. That's a good idea. And we have a Batman t-shirt on there. Never trust third-party APIs. And this is related, I think that they posted, yes, with this tip. Never trust third-party APIs, and use always defensive programming when you are working with third parties. Or anti-corruption lawyers, call it whatever you want, but basically, yesterday or the other day, they are doing now, he's my fella, he's now coming on stage. But basically they are working now in a root system, integrating with another company, and they are changing the APA and the contracts. Well, when they want, at the hour that they want, it's okay, but maybe they change, I'm not returning this in this request, and now I'm returning an ID, and now I'm returning null, and now a UID, and our system is basically exploding all the time. So you need a lot of defensive programming, right? Never trust the payload, never. And also learn to handle internal expectations. And the golden tip under this statement is never compromise for a date. Period. Never. And I'm going to explain you a thing that I was told by my master a lot of time ago. And it's, imagine that you are in the supermarket example, and you are in the fish stop, right? And you get the ticket. And you are the number 15, and they are in the 10, right? And you wait for 4 minutes, and they move from the 10 to the 14. Or you say, oh, they are 1 minute, one client, that's okay. In 1 minute, I will be attended. But what you don't know is that the 14 people is building actually half the ocean. So you are gonna wait for 3 hours now, but you actually don't know. One task can be on track for forever, right? But what you can compromise, because it's not about it's not a war, it's not about fighting the product department or marketing department. What you can compromise is this is the amount of stuff that we can do, and actually I can tell you we are on the 60% of the work done. Expect the 40% maybe to be like the other 40 or maybe not, right? So compromise for product pieces, but not for days. We are gonna go into this again. It's quite important. This is chango. Chango means storage warehouse in Korean, because we have another developer in the team who's in love of the Korean culture, and he was living in Korea, and yada yada, and he's the chief naming office. Joke. Okay, so again PHP 7 with Symfony 2, but this is actually a step further in this stack, because this is the language, this is the framework, but in terms of architecture, we're using CQRS and event sourcing. In case you don't know, this is command query resource segregation, responsibility segregation, and event sourcing, which is basically like a set of patterns architecture, set of patterns to build properly the your product, your system, your code, right? This is basically separating the idea of retrieving information and writing information, and event sourcing is building your data, your model, something like that, constructing not in a single request or event, but multiple events. They are coming asynchronously and building the model. Why is important this, and why is in the slide? Because again, you notice now the important thing that other projects are not using CQRS and event sourcing, because this project, because the context of this project actually needs this architecture. And if I'm not mistaken, we have 0 bugs, 1 bug, 0 bugs in 6 months from June. 0 bugs. Only human errors, a lot, but 0 bugs. So this is when you are doing well the job of contextualizing your product, and also you are doing well the job of thinking and going slow, going on time. You can do very well code, very well maintainable code, and scalable code, and all the fancy word code. And also we're using an Angular web app for the client. For the client, this software it's I don't know 90% backend probably, and then 10% front, which is we have the pickers in the storage, the warehouse, and they have like a mobile Motorola G3 here, and they have like a finger placed barcode scanner, and they are where it goes, put it on the box number 40, 40, and they are building like that. So this web app is built with Angular. Why Angular? Because the people who were in the company, they knew Angular. And this is another very good tip, right? Why you will choose a technology? Why would you choose, for example, PHP in Barcelona? Because you will find out of developers that they know PHP. If you go for Scala, or Erlang, or Elixir, you're fucked. Because you know Elixir, and you are the only one in this city that know Elixir probably. So, right, this is a problem. This is something that when you are making these kind of decisions, that they are ground-based decisions, like the technology or the language, you need actually to think about the kind of stuff. Who knows this technology? What are the salaries around this technology? Or they can think, there are other products in other business that they have products in production with this technology. What is their experience? Yada yada. Not only technical stuff. The issues, the message versioning. This is a known problem in the world of messaging. That when you are sweeping, or not only sweeping but just changing your messaging system, you're going to have a lot of corruption, and there is actually not like a silver bullet for this, right? Every context needs different solution. Later we can focus on this in the Q&A. And not having clear business logic before coding is actually another trouble or issue that is something that you can find across a lot of products. Usually the tip here is try to not start to coding until you have the business logic super clear, because they're going to change. Therefore, you're going to move to the trash pieces of your code. Also, you will find that you will choose different technology, maybe, or different architecture if you will know about the rule of the business logic, something like that. So this is, I wouldn't say a statement like before, like never start coding, because it's very difficult also for your fellows in the company to know the business logic. It's not something that it's easy. For Chango, for example, it's actually complex. I mean, to handle a warehouse is super complex. You have the providers, different hours, different trucks. The system of the industrial areas is special. Different boxes. This is going with fresh, so they need ice maintaining around during the delivery. All the stuff, it's super complex. So have a, I don't know how to say, but be kind with you fellas out of the development environment. Yeah, this tip is important. This one, be brave. Be brave. Our CTO is brave, and period. I mean, we were the first company, as I told you before, in Spain with Symfony 2. I'm not sure about this, but if not the first, one of the first using CQRS in Spain again, and 0 bugs. I mean, for us, this is the metric, right? For us, the developers, we can make changes, we can deploy fast, and we don't have bugs. So this is a win-win situation for a code. But be brave, be brave. In my other company, I started with Flags in the 0.12, and everything went really fine. But never confuse be brave with being stupid. And I'm not joking now. Be brave with being stupid. It's not the same. Be brave is not, this is super cool, trending technology, let's do something with this. Is check all the options and analyze what's better for your context. If the best option for your context is something that's new, don't be afraid to try. Have developers and the stakeholders close to each other. This is maybe something really important for us because we have a lot of products and we are like 60 people in the company and only 11 developers, not counting the manager. 11 developers for 60 people. And you see all the products that we have. So what we do, or what we try to do basically, is to make a meeting, the stakeholder, which is the non-technical people who's in charge of the project, with the technical people or some people in this project. They have a meeting every 2 weeks, something like that, and they discuss the new milestones, basically. It's something like the grooming meeting, if you know Scrum, but more focus on what to do and what is not needed anymore, because the requirement and the priorities, they're going to change probably, rather than putting some hours in the tasks. Okay, and the last one is tracks. Tracks is quite small for us, though for us small means big for a lot of people outside. But we are improving, right? We are including root. Right now we're using a third party, Max Opera company, and we are doing this in-house, which is super cool because it's not core business for us, but super important, the delivery. If we can offer same-day delivery that we don't have now, or even like Amazon, they are delivering in 2 hours. This is something that you need the roots in-house. You can do this with your parties. And what we have now, we have a DDD and hexagonal architecture. Hexagonal, again, is like a set of patterns to build your code and to split actually very clear the point accesses to your code and how to consume your code. And the application is an Android app with Angular and Ionic. So you are building with Angular, you place the superset of Ionic, and this is going to build an Android application that's actually a web view. But okay, why we're doing this? For me, this is the important thing in tracks, because this issue, it's a killing issue. I've seen a lot of startups die because of this. Not knowing the device our technology will run on. We started to build an Angular web application like Chango before. Well, I showed you before because Chango is younger. But we started building an Angular application, and then we realized that actually the people who's doing the delivery, they are using very old PDAs. And a normal web view cannot run in this device. Now imagine that you were actually making a company and you were trying to sell this product for the delivery company. So you are basically fucked because your software cannot run on the devices. It's not going to work, again. And then clear possibility pathways. This is also very related to the front end, but also I've seen quite a lot of startups closing because of this, basically because they have a super powerful product, but they are the only ones that know how to use it. So invest some time or some money into a designer, a UX designer, right? The 95% of a designer job is to think about the UX, not actually making nothing with the Photoshop. And tips, worship the user persona. This is super related with the first one. If you are not related with the user persona term, it's basically you have to know that, for example, for Ulabox, we have two user persona, and one is a mom. He is married. He actually have one child or more children, and I don't remember now the salary range, but we know him. She has a name and so on. The other one is a young male who lives in Twitter, basically. I have quite a lot of money. So we have two. And we know that if we are doing something, oh, it would be super cool to, I don't know, we thought the other day to have like a Tinder for products. Oh, I like the bananas. I don't like the kiwis. I like that. Yeah, but if you think on the mom is actually trying to save the children to suicide, right? Their children. They try to kill themselves all the time. So she's not into Tindering products, right? Okay, maybe for her it's more important to have a discount in diapers. Know the user persona, then you can focus on what to build. And solve one problem at a time. This problem also that you listen before and then iterate. In this case for tracks, they were trying to make like, yeah, with this you can go here and they can sign and then it sends to a message and then it turns the wall and make the sun rise and sunset. What do you want to do here? No, it's just for signing when you finish the delivery. Okay, so let's do this. Once this is working and once this is in production, we can iterate again. This is agile, basically. So, in a nutshell, it's a weird sentence, maybe, but I think that it's a very well summarized sentence about what I told you before, because focus. So make one thing at a time, have the business logic clear, and so on. On slow cooking, not compromise for the date, be on time, think about the UX, think about the architecture and the ground basic technologies. Are unique. Don't waste time self-maintaining your systems. Don't waste time reinventing the wheel. Use libraries. Don't waste time trying to make, I don't know, the roots. I think that this is something that we did very well. We don't actually make the roots, which is a super complex problem. We actually pay for others to make it. And now that we have time, then we can do this in-house. So focus on what is going to make you unique and high maintainable. Even if you're working alone, I don't know, at the beginning of a startup, even in this case, for yourself, in 3 months, make code that you can come again and reuse all the parts that you can understand what you did, you can change it, you can deploy to production very quick, that kind of stuff. You can roll back if there is an error in production very quick. Code, which is important. So from here, the presentation. Now, if you have questions, I hope yes. Me and Manel, which is my fella, a big clap for Manel. So we can answer your questions if you have any. I don't know. We have a microphone. We are in top-notch technologies here.
I have a question. Hi. Yeah. In the presentation, you mentioned like lots of different technologies, the company is you said it's like 60 people and 11 of them are developers. So the development team is a few people, but it's not huge, and you have all these departments and different things. So it's a big challenge. Like, I'm impressed, to be honest. So first of all, like, you must be really good at managing this complexity. But my question would be, are you considering, or have you considered reducing the diversity that you have in all the technology that you're using? Would that be something that makes your life easier, or you see this diversity as being the most productive solution at the moment? I don't know if the question is clear. Like, all the different frameworks, all the different languages, all different pieces there, if there is a way to reduce that a bit, and if that would be productive or not.
You mean in terms of business or technology?
In terms of helping the development team deliver more value for the company.
Okay. Okay, so we are actually on it, right? Is that we call it common lips. It's something that we have from a lot of time. We think about it like third-party libraries, but we are the maintainers. We are improving this, and we are the system cloud and all the stuff. So this is going in this direction. Also, what I told you about the Docker, the idea of the Docker is that you have code-contained containers. So the deployment of the container should be actually just pushing to the repository. And also, for us, I think the thing that we already did is the pipes, also for testing and also for deploying. They are, if not full automatized, almost full automatized. So you see, if you are pushing to master,
basically one example I could make, like, if I remember in my memory, one of your front-end internal tools was built with Angular, another is built with React Native, or you had something with React and React Native, and then you were mentioning a couple other frameworks along the way. I was wondering, for a developer, because like each time you're switching context. You're like, oh, I'm working this app, or I'm working in Angular. Oh, now I have to remember the React philosophy. Now I have to move. So as you move from one project to another, because 11 people, I guess, each one of you, to a certain extent, will move from one project to another. If that is a difficulty, you're like, well, now after a bit you get used to it, and it just, whatever, it's never been an issue. I don't know, I was just wondering.
I guess that is not actually a problem. No. I mean, at the end, for example, the thing that changed the most with the front-end things is how you build them, right? And for us, it's and build. And the time that you build this project, you actually made all the things for this to work. And once you go to the code and you are changing, I don't know, the logics for Angular, the logics for React, and the paradigm is super different. But it's not that complex. And this is, I mean, for us in Ulabox, the front-end things are quite small compared to backend. And in backend, it's always PHP 7, Symfony 2. More questions? Yeah. Don't be shy, be brave.
Hi. Can you talk a little bit about what do you do for project management? Like, I don't know, your practice, how do you pass from an idea to an actual done project?
Yeah, so this is a very good question because, as you notice, right, we are like 6 companies in one. So we have a project manager, and the idea of this project manager is that he's the bottleneck for all the requirements and demands of the other departments, and he's prioritizing what's more important and what's not. Though, in abstract, we are, we could say, a self-managed team. We actually make a lot of things by consensus. And in terms of organization, like physical organization, we are really prone to Kanban. And we don't make sprints. We don't iterate in this idea because at the end you have different projects. So you cannot force all the developers to iterate from today to 15 days later, because they are in different projects, and this project needs to iterate every week, because it's I don't know, right now there is a marketing campaign and they are changing a lot of things, but this project needs to iterate every 3 weeks, because it's starting and all the decisions right now are mainly technical. So for the stakeholder is, how is going? Oh, we're in the 60% of the product. Okay, I will come back in 3 weeks. I mean, I cannot do nothing here right now, right?
How do you keep track of the progress? Like you keep track of the subtasks, or the project is subdivided in tasks, I assume, and everything is managed, or is more like the developer is creating his own task and then he's putting them as completed in a Kanban board? Or
We have the idea of the manager is that he's doing proving well, but the idea of the manager is that he's doing like the user stories. He's placing the user stories in the backlog AKI Kanban Icebox. Once you are introducing this in the WIP, in the work in progress, you have to split it out in the tasks, in the technical tasks. Then you are moving in the normal Kanban, right now it's normal Kanban, until this is done. And once all the spirit tasks are done, then you can release the user story, and another user story can enter the backlog, the short backlog. This is the idea. So the first user stories, they are always tracked, always. We know about these ones, and also about the thing that we call fires. You can think about the fire, right? I mean, the web is on fire. We keep track of these things, but not too much of the tasks.
And do you have, for instance, one thing that is very common is that there is interference by, for example, marketing people or business people, right? They come to you and they say, this is super important. I need this as soon as possible, because without this, we'll fail in blah, blah, blah. Okay?
Yeah, we ask the manager, please.
Okay, so you have everything centralized in one person, and this
Yes.
person has to decide what is more important?
Yeah, he's the bottleneck.
Okay.
I cannot, because, second. The idea is that, answer now, but the idea is that if I'm working right now in the apps, I cannot make this decision, because I don't know how important is right now another thing that's happening in the Chango. So we need one person or one algorithm or one team, but we need a point of centralizing this information, right? Right now, for example, we were in the apps team, 1, 2, 3, we were 3, and since the past week, we are now 2, because another project, they have more important requirements. So one of our fellows is moving to another team. This is something I could never make this decision, because I don't know how important it is for the company and that kind of stuff. If marketing people come and say, this is super important, I would say, well, I have to ask the CPO, for example, because this is changing the product. Do you ask the CPO? No, I don't have the CPO. And also, I have to say, not blaming, yeah? I love all my fellas, for real. But there's a lot of times that came someone and said, this is super important, and you say, okay, we can look at tomorrow? Yeah, and tomorrow he doesn't come. So it wasn't that important. And you were saying?
We have 2 types of projects, new projects, where the manager only keeps track as a side, and the main project office, which is maintained and where the managers focuses more on writing the histories. But in the new projects, in case of apps, or in the case of route planning and so on, are development team who writes the histories and talks directly with business.
Yeah, of course, there's 2 stages, right? All the projects have 2 stages, which is 0 point whatever and production. So if it's in production, think about this. For us, like 90% of the requirements of our departments, they are about the web, changes of the web. And there is just logistics that they ask to us a lot of things about the channel, the warehouse management. But I don't know, they usually don't come and say, whoa, trucks need to use, yeah, I mean, I saw it, a CQRS segregation using this, it never happened before. More questions? It's about questions time.
Hi. You mentioned the importance of being brave, so I wanted to ask, what's the bravest decision you've taken this year, or a brave decision you plan on taking shortly?
This year, chango. I would say that the chango decision, it was, I wasn't in the company, but I know the story, he could tell us better, but it was a very stressful situation, and very stressful situation. All the departments, even like the people on the top of the chain for a company, the investors, they were asking for results. So this is a stressful situation, and this stressful situation came because of the slow part on the slow cooking. But now the profits, right? You have a system that handles a super complex process, which is the warehouse, with 0 bugs, no problems, high maintainability, all the stuff. Make your choice, what you prefer. To deliver 1 month before, 2 months in the best of the cases, and then have to iterate a lot just to bug fixing. And you never will get, well, you never know, but it's going to be very difficult to get like this kind of well-designed software, because usually you will find parts of your application that are already compromised for your previous decisions. And you were there, you were the guy that mounted Chango.
Chango was complicated because we started the project in February, and the problem with publicity, TV publicity, is that you have to pay like 4 or 5 months before the mission. So we have to open this Barcelona warehouse and Madrid warehouse when we have proved that Barcelona warehouse was okay, and in September we have publicity. So imagine, go for a complex architecture like figurative and event sourcing with this pressure was quite complex, but 0 bugs, I guess it's justified. But it was very complex, and
we have also like an example of the dark side, because with Chango actually also we started the client app with React, but they told you that it's built with Angular for a reason. Okay, something breaks in the pathway. So at the end, be brave. You can fail. Don't be afraid of failing. That's okay. Failing is the only way to the success. Goodbye.
Big drop.
More questions?
Could you tell us more a bit about the like unit testing and the way you test everything? Do you test at the beginning? Do you test when you know it works? Do you test only your backend, your front end? You know, just a bit of context.
Yeah, sure. We test a lot. I mean, I have to say, I know a lot of people. I live here in Barcelona, and yeah, here in the Barcelona context, we have a lot of coverage. A lot of the code is covered. Even the super legacy code is covered. And our approach usually is to make unit testing that you don't have to do it TDD driven, but we have like a non-written golden rule, which is that you shouldn't be pushing nothing to master, which is new, without the test. So it's basically put this decision into the developer. I don't care how you work. Just when you're pushing something new, make it with the unit test at least. Then we also have the integration test for the part that need the integration, and we do a lot of big hat test, which is like the next step. And for the front, for the back, we're using PHP unit.
yeah.
Microphone, please.
I can speak about the backend part, mainly in the new project. It's based in an outside-in TDD. Not always, always you must find the best way to handle it, not be very, well, you have to find your way to respect TDD, but always based in an outside-in TDD. We had this Gherkin tool where you write PDD test, then you go for the specification with PHP spec, sorry, and for the integration part, PHP unit. So this is overstack and testing and at the back end.
The idea, if you don't know Gherkin, which is very powerful because it's a super high level language. So basically you write it like English. And the cool thing, the ideal thing, is that the people who's actually writing the Gherkin like recipes, it's not technical people. It's the people who's designing the business logics. The best world, the paradise, will be the people who's deciding the business logics. What they pass to the technical team is a set of Gherkin recipes. That would be awesome. So I have the Gherkin recipe. Okay, my code needs to pass this test. Perfect. That would be perfect. So that's the good point of the Gherkin-like languages. For the front end, which is the other thing, we use basically Phantom.js, but in the React Native new apps that we are using Jest, because the React Native is quite difficult to test. It's not very mature in this environment. You cannot use enzyme, the kind of stuff. It's very difficult to test the components actually, like clicking here and all. It's quite complex. And if you can check for Nightmare.js, it's a super smart idea. Instead of loading like a Selenium or Chrome or whatever, they are actually building an Electron application, injecting your app inside, and then using the API of Electron to access the DOM. So you don't have the problems of loading in the server, headless browsing, all this stuff. No, it's an Electron, inject it inside, there is a Chrome kit behind it, try everything, and then get the responses. And it's super fast. 9,000 stars in GitHub. It's not mine, no? No, it's not mine, really. More questions? More questions? Yeah. No, it's fine.
Well, if you have unlimited time, unlimited money, what would you choose?
I wouldn't be here.
I know. What would you choose to technologies for front end of the supermarket part, for the Ulabox part? What would you choose? Because I think you will burn in fire of the code and start again.
Okay, the answer that you don't want to listen is I will spend a lot of money in marketing and other things. Because I told you at the beginning, you need a balance. But now the answer that you want to hear, I will watch probably for Inferno. The difference between Inferno and React basically are the synthetic events. And this is important for me, and I have unlimited money, it means that I have unlimited power. It's important for all the front-end developers that we have a responsibility with the community, which is pushing all the legacy environments forward. And we actually make a lot of steps the last year. This year, at the beginning of this year, with Microsoft announcing that they are releasing the support for Internet Explorer 11 and under, continue this way. And the Chrome Summit, finally the TCJ 49, which is the people who's in charge of the next step of JavaScript, they announced that we are going to have actually the pay API for web. So this is the revolution, in case you don't notice. But once you have an open API in web for paying, you're killing all the apps because you actually kill their markets. And this is important. This is happening because we are pushing. I would use Inferno for this. All the other things are the same as React. I would choose server-side rendering, and then the bundle that you are dispatching to the front end, this should transform itself into a single page application. No, you can do this with PHP. You can do it, but it's quite complex. You need a JavaScript kit in order to do the server-side rendering if you are doing a single page application. I would use Node. And I'm a Node fanboy. Yeah. I'm the only fanboy of Node in Ulabox. I live alone in a dark world of PHP. No, it's okay.
You don't have unlimited money and unlimited power. You don't have it, so
yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. but here's for the front end. And basically with this you have almost everything that you need. And if I have unlimited money, I will buy myself unlimited time also. I think that you mentioned that, just in case. I say a sheep also, or I miss the sheep.
The other question?
Why you decide for move to Angular to React?
Okay, because Angular is a premortem.
Well,
It's a premortem model. I mean, now, real. Angular is a technology that's going to be deprecated, basically because they have a different paradigm compared to React, right? Which is the based on MU whatever, right? Plus the two-way data binding against the unidirectional data flow. And the unidirectional data flow actually proves that's better. It's better in performance, it's better in maintainability, it's better in composability, which is super important. It's the direction also of Polymer or Aurora. And Angular does two. Sorry. Angular 2 actually became to production just because it's Google. They have unlimited time and money. And they already started the project. But Angular 2 is not Angular either. I mean, you could, I don't understand why call it Angular 2. You could call it circular. I mean, it's nothing to do with Angular. And the idea of the premortem, I base my foundation of calling a premortem is basically because all important people that were handled the project, they actually leave the Angular project. All of them. Even Ayosmani, that he was vouching a lot of for Angular like 2 years ago, he left it for Polymer, and he's now talking about Inferno and that kind of things.
Okay, thanks.
More questions?
No questions?
I have one actually. What about code reviewing your team?
We're talking about this today. It's not mandatory. It's not mandatory. I mean, we don't have a rule. It's not mandatory. Usually we don't do code reviews. What we do a lot is pair programming, quite a lot. So when you're doing pair programming, a lot of times you don't need a code review. Though I'm the defensor of the code review in the company, because even when you, if you never think about this, but even when you're doing pair programming, we are both, right? We have 4 eyes also, but we're coding. But we have 2 brains that they are in the same set. When you are doing asynchronously code review, I have a mindset once I'm coding things, and then I don't know, in an hour or whatever, another person is going to go into this code. And without my mindset, this person needs to understand the code perfect. And this is the important thing. It's not about finding, oh, you miss a semicolon here. It's not about this. It's about understanding what you're doing, because this is the foundation of the maintainability. For me, this is the most important thing. Yeah, and if we were doing the mandatory code review, probably through pull request and so on, improvements in GitHub or GitLab or I don't know, Bitbucket, probably they have a tool like this one. But also it's important, and last note, if you are working alone or in your side project, you can make code review yourself. Just another day. And this is going to work also. Try it. Try it, really. I mean, it's better to make a code that is self-explanatory rather than place comments or documentation. If you can avoid these things, means that you are doing a high maintainable code. Okay?
Yeah.
More questions?
More questions? One last then. Maybe I missed it. What about continuous integration and tools that are running tests on the cloud and blah, blah, blah?
We have Jenkins.
Yeah.
Everything is on the everything is on the Jenkins pipeline. You could make it with different tools, but we put everything on the Jenkins, and the process is that the continuous integration is the thing that we master perfectly. Everything that goes to master, every little push that goes to master triggers the pipeline. And the pipeline, in all the projects, it's going to run all the tests. And then also, we have some projects, like the website, chango, I guess, and other projects that they also, once they finish successfully the test, they also deploy in the machinery. The deployment thing, if I'm not wrong, is that Ansistrano. We deploy with Ansistrano. With the Juno Capistrano is the same, but the recipes are done with Ansible. So you don't need the Ruby, never is gonna compile and watch. Hello.
You talk about Docker, but your deployments are made with Docker, or?
Next question.
I know it's a.
It's quite complex.
Yeah,
Docker is actually a technology for this. It's not for data actually, but Docker for some reason started being super trendy, and then when a technology started to be really trendy, all the people start hacking with it and so on, and they actually find a good way to deploy with Docker. Not only deploy, because the deployment doesn't mean nothing. Deployment is put some code into another environment which is not your machine. This is deployment, right? Like the big concept of deployment. But actually, when you mean to deploy, you mean to deploy in a machine. This machine is going to be connected to another infrastructure, to another systems. It's going to need communication, networking, proxies. All this stuff is the complex stuff. And for this, you will need, call it SWAT, no, or Kubernetes. If you need Docker. If not, you're going to find problems, because you will say, oh, this is working, yeah. And then someday you will need, you will find yourself, whoa, this machine is quite old, I need to change it. Now you have a problem. If not, at Sospedra_R, find me in 2 years.
We have a main problem with Docker in production is that we have a monolith. And Docker is not a monolith, I mean a big monolith. We have started splitting in projects like Ruben has explained, but the monolith keeps there. So the performance with Docker, it's not at the point we want with this monolith. Docker has helped us a lot in the development environment, because imagine you have to run in your machine to test manually that all systems, the message that creates in back office goes to warehouse and then to the root planner. You can test it in your machine with backgrounds, but the machine goes down. It's impossible. So Docker is a solution that has helped us with this problem. And we have all the projects up, and the machine keeps living.
Actually, I didn't want to be rude, but the idea when you're working with Docker is that it's not about deploying your code, but the important thing with Docker is to maintain on the environment, or all the infrastructure environment that is going to be working with Docker. Maybe other containers that they are the proxy or the networking, right? That kind of stuff. If you want to maintain this with high availability, health status, slaves, all the stuff, you can do it manually with Docker, but it's gonna be a pain in the ass. So use Swarm, which I guess that is not ready for production. We tried Swarm and it's not ready for production. It's like a weird experiment of Docker, or it doesn't work, right? No. Farsik is the only one that knows. Victor Farsik is the only one who knows how to use Swarm. Kubernetes is a powerful tool, but you cannot use. Well, I never recommend to use Docker for deployment alone, just Docker. I think it's a bad idea. Though I know people that they have the company in production with Docker. But I have to say also that they have one container and they deploy the container and it's like, okay, so maybe you don't need Docker. I call this Puppet, but
I work in a company that we have a lot of microservices, and each microservice is built with one machine, one Docker,
right.
and every microservice is interconnected with other microservices using
Docker network.
Yeah, but not. You cannot only use Docker.
Exactly, that's the point.
You must do. Some services must be in the kernel of the service.
Right. Just think about the history of Docker. Docker started as a tool for the developers to make the development environment the same for everyone. That was the starting of Docker. So at the beginning it wasn't intended to be a deployment tool. It's just that we can actually do it, and it makes a lot of sense with the microservices. But there are alternatives to Docker also. Different rancher, different machines, that they are more powerful because you can actually connect with an API of this technology to the container status. So you can get more things. Docker is quite limited in these things because it's reusing your machine. At the end, it's connected your kernel to the container kernel. More questions? No? Really? No, okay. Just one more thing. We are hiring. If you like it and you want to work in a supermarket, all profiles, not only tech. Right? No, we are hiring lots of tech. Well,
Okay, thank you very much for this amazing talk. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, actually.
thank you.
So, for you, remember to RSVP for next week. We are inviting Typeform, which is an amazing business from Barcelona. Okay, the dummy rate is like Ulabox. It's as cool as Ulabox. And so, see you next week then. Thank you.